Samsung Dex has actually come a really long way since it was first launched back with the Samsung Galaxy S9. It was something I never actually used at the time. Back then you needed a separate accessory which Samsung sold on the website and not many other places, and it was a bit cumbersome and I didn't really see the point. Fast forward a few years and all you actually need now to get Samsung Dex to work on any screen or monitor is a HDMI to USB-C cable. So now it's a lot easier to use, a lot simpler to get started. You can even use your phone screen as a mouse and to type, so you don't need an external keyboard or mouse. To use it as an actual workstation, you're still going to need something. And I think I have what I would call the best Samsung Dex accessory. So this is actually a Dell accessory, which isn't marketed at all for Samsung Dex, but more to dock a laptop to a screen instead. It's a small but powerful piece of kit. It does come with a power brick, which is quite hefty. So it's not so much something you'd want to carry around in a bag or laptop case to use Dex with. In that case, it's probably just better using a USB to USB-C cable and connect it to your laptop and use on Windows. But the setup like this is actually pretty awesome. So what I've got here is a second-hand keyboard and a second-hand mouse, just USB for both of them. Dead cheap. You can pick them up for like £10 new, but being on an extreme budget, I picked them up second-hand, mainly because I don't use it that often, so what's the point of spending money? And the actual Dell accessory itself has 4 USB ports on it, so you can use it for thumb drives, a keyboard, mouse, a printer if you wanted to. It's even got a headphone jack at the front, which is pretty handy. I don't need to explain why that's handy. And then a built-in USB-C adapter as well. So you're not going to use any of the USB ports to plug the phone in. Now it has a separate HDMI on the back as well as a VGA port, so you could use that if you wanted to for a monitor. In terms of getting started with Dex, I've got my Note 10 here. I've got the cable from the Dell accessory. As I plug it in, it starts charging, and it is fast charging as well, which I really like. It's really handy. And then in a few seconds, Dex is up and running. Now if you haven't used Dex before, and you have a Samsung and you have a spare monitor about, I highly recommend it for an extra level of productivity. If you haven't got a laptop or PC to hand, this is pretty cool. So Dex actually works a lot like Windows, and it looks like Windows, but it's the basic stripped down version. So you can see here I've got the mouse on the screen, and I've got Dex down the bottom, which is settings, and quickly come out of Dex. You can lock Dex. And then I've got my apps here. So these are all the apps that are compatible with. It does look a lot like it does on your Samsung phone or on any Android phone for that matter. But you know, when you dive into it, you can use a lot more. So let's just open YouTube with a little search at the top here. And it will open up in a smaller window, which you can make full screen. So if you go onto Netflix, and Netflix does open up like an app, so it is like phone shape and size, but you can stretch it out and you can use it in different ways as well. So we started watching Sherlock, for example. So you can play it in full screen, and you can also use it with the sound coming out of the HDMI device as well, which is pretty cool. In terms of actual productivity as well, I mean, if we go to Microsoft Word, you can run what is essentially a full version of Microsoft Word. You've got your editing tabs along the top. You can click and drag, type with the keyboard. Okay, go there for some reason. Great band, check them out. And it does work with the full suite of it. OneNote, PowerPoint, everything all works in here. And it pretty much essentially looks like a desktop PC. All running from your smartphone. If you have any Samsung phone from the S9 upwards, you can run Samsung Dex on it. Now in terms of the actual accessory itself, why do I think it's the best option for Dex? You don't need any other fancy equipment. If you've got a USB mouse and a USB keyboard, which if you haven't, you can pick up dead cheap. This is a full PC setup now, using my phone and a small accessory and a small TV, just any TV, HDMI or VGA port will do. This is a really old second-hand TV, and Dex is running fine, perfectly. I say I can work on this now. I could do a script on here. I can't spell, but you know. And you've essentially got a full PC setup now. Even going as far as video editing. Now thanks to improved editing software on the phone as well, that all transfers straight across onto Dex. So I can color grade a picture on here, do this contrast. Everything that I would pretty much do on a phone or on a bigger screen just using a mouse and keyboard. You can even go as far as well as doing multitasking on Dex. Obviously you can change the background there with the desktop icons. You could sort them around. If I wanted to do emails and web browsing at the same time, just like you will on Windows, to drag one to one side and one to the other, and you've got a full multitasking screen with both your emails on one side and a web browser on the other, and that works with pretty much every app as well. Now when it comes to price, yes, it's going to be easier to just use a HDMI cable, but in my opinion it's definitely worth paying the price for this. It's available on Amazon for less than £90, and so it's not sponsored, but I'll leave a link in the description as well. Let me know what you think of it. Do you think it's worthwhile paying £90 to get a full desktop experience powered by a smartphone, or would you rather just pay a couple of £100 extra and get a laptop or budget PC? For me personally, this is perfect. Not to mention the fact that it charges my phone super fast as well whilst it's running, so I'm getting the best of both worlds. I actually used this when we moved in recently, because we moved into this house and we didn't have internet for the first 4 days. Having 2 young kids, that's a nightmare. So I actually used this to power the downstairs TV and play YouTube or Netflix on it till we got the internet and the kids were happy. I just worked off 4G, playing Netflix on a big 60-inch TV downstairs flawlessly with no complaints. And that's living the dream. So yeah, I highly recommend this as the best Dex accessory out there. Even though you don't need them anymore, and you can use a HDMI to USB-C cable or just a USB to USB cable if your TV will allow it, I definitely recommend this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to see more videos like this and setups on a budget, hit the like button and let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.